Lists. If you're familiar with programming, you might have heard of arrays. And lists are very similar to arrays. And if this is your first time programming, here's a rundown of what lists are. List contains variables of any combination of data types. So you can have a list that contains an integer, and then it contains a float and strings and whatever you would like to put in it. And the variables can be accessed, edited, or deleted however you see fit. So let's get straight to it. So to get started, we're going to open up a brand new file, and we're going to save it first, and we're going to call this lists. And now we're able to write some code. So the first thing we're going to create is our variable list, and we're going to name this my first list. And to define a list, all you have to do is use these square brackets, and that will define your list. And we're going to print the list using the print function, and we'll just copy this and paste it into here. And if we run this, nothing will actually output because we have an empty list. So to fill up this list, we're going to input it with some variables. So we're going to call this, the first one we're going to say is dog, and then you separate each variable with a comma, and then we're going to use the next one. We're going to call this cat and bird. So we're just going to have a bunch of animals in our first list. And now if we output this, we'll see that we have our list outputted to us. And as I said, you don't only have to have one data type in our list. We can have separate or different data types. So let's create our second list. We're going to call this list2. And here we're going to start with a boolean. So we'll say true, then a number, and then a string. So we can say fast. And if we output this as well using the print function, and we'll just say list2 and run this. And yeah, like I said, you don't have to have only one data type. You can have multiple data types in your list. If you want to access these variables in our lists, you have to access them using its index. So each variable in the list has a position, and you just call onto its position to access it. But in programming, we don't start from number 1. We start from number 0. So the first variable is number 0, and the second one is number 1, and the third one is number 2. So let's get straight into accessing our variables. So if you want to access only one variable in your list, you're going to have to use indexing, as I just spoke about. So to get the index or to get a single variable, you'll write the box right after the list name, and then you'll write a number. So this is variable 0 or index 0. This is index 1 and index 2. So if you want to get the bird, you will say index 2, and then here we can say index 0 for the first one. And then we'll run the module, and we'll notice that we'll only get the variable that we called for. So now that we know how to access our variables, we can perform operations on these lists as well. So lists can be operated by using functions. So there are many types of functions, and I'm just going to go through a couple of them right now. So the first function we're going to go over is the length function. So as we notice, we have 1, 2, 3 variables in our second list. So if we want to output the length of this list, you'll say len in small letters, and then brackets, and then you'll put in the list. So we'll write list2 and then run. Oh my goodness, no, we want to run the module. Okay, so now we'll notice that it will say 3 because that's how many variables we have in our list. So the second function we're going to go over is append. So let's get rid of this, and we're going to append a brand new variable into our list with animals. So let's rename this to animals list, and here we're just going to call this animals list as well. And then if you want to add a variable, you'll say animals list dot append, and then inside this brackets you'll write the variable that you want to append or add to your list. So here we'll add a fish, and then we'll run the module and then click OK. So now you'll notice that we've added a fourth variable into our list. The third one we can go over is clear. So we'll just say animals.list clear. Just make all the animals go extinct, and then if we run the module, you'll notice that it's an empty list. So we've cleared all the variables in our list. And the final one that we're going to go over today is reverse. So this will basically reverse the order of the list. So if you run this, we'll see that it's now bird, cat, dog. So it's just the opposite order. And there are a lot more functions that you can use in Python for your lists. So if you look up here, you can see so many more commands that you can use, and if you experiment with them, you can see what they mean. There are other types of arrays in Python. We have tuples, sets, and dictionaries, and we'll go over these other arrays later on in the tutorial series. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please smash the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next video. We'll be performing operations on variables. So, see you in the next video. Peace.